welcome to the very first episode of MyStockScanner Live, powered by 3-Point Playbook. This is where investing gets simpler. Every stock we cover faces the same three questions that you're used to if you follow us on our webpage. Is it a quality company? Does it have an upside? And is now the right time to buy? We are the two guys you know, Hans Henrik Nielsen and Liam Flavel. My name is Jesper Behrens. You might know me for radio and TV. But guys, first show, you ready?
Absolutely.
Definitely. Okay, and I think that alone the fact that Liam is half Irish, half English sort of explains why we are doing this in English in the first place. But I know there's been a lot of questions about that, and I know that people can put on subtitles and see it in Danish, and we are simultaneously subtitling, Liam. Isn't that the way we're going?
I think it is. I think a couple of people are trying to work out how to do it, so bear with us. Probably next show will be slicker on the subtitle side of things. We'll practice.
Yeah. We will be doing this show every Monday, every Wednesday, and every Friday. And we do this to sort of help you cut through the noise as an investor, hopefully help you give you some smarter picks and thereby help you invest with confidence. On the show today, if we look at our first show, we will be talking Ambu. We will be talking a little bit about Maersk, Barrick Gold, Taiwan Semiconductor. And of course, we need to talk about the government shutdown in the US because that is the macro thing that's taking everybody's mind right now. Is it a investable moment or is it a sell-off? But before we get to that, Hans Henrik and Liam, give me a number. How many days will the shutdown last? Hans Henrik.
Well, I have the theory that it will beat the earlier record back from, was it 2018? That was 35 days, and I think this could be a conflict where both sides dig in. So above 35.
Liam, he says above 35. Your take?
I was reading this morning an interview with someone from Evercore analysts, and they were saying 2 to 3 weeks in their opinion. I think someone might cave, so I'm going to go slightly lower. Can I just go lower? Is that all right?
Yeah. We'll give you lower. Hans got higher, and let's just say there's a Danish beer riding on this one. Yeah. But we have something on the show that we start out every single episode, and that is we have a number of the day, and that's me finding a number that could be relevant for investment, or it could be sports related, it could be music related, it could be anything, but just a number of the day. And today it's 2.99 million. I'll help you a little bit. Our users and viewers and listeners are, of course, welcome to guess in as well. But 2.99 million, help you a little bit. It's people.
Well, it's not the number of viewers on our first show, I can see.
No, it's too low, actually, for that.
Yeah, but any guesses?
It's a very specific number, so no, I've got no idea.
I stopped at 2.99, so that's specific. It ain't.
It's even more specific. Okay.
Oh, shut up. You guys can think about it for the next couple of 20 minutes. That's how long the show is going to be. But if we look at the stock markets, which is what everybody's waiting for, the Dow, the SP 500, and NASDAQ futures, they fall. They don't look happy because the shutdown is looming, the first down since 2018. I know they don't happen every year, these shutdowns, but they do happen maybe more often than we think. We talked a little bit about if it's going to be short or long, but more interestingly, Hans Henrik and Liam, what are the do's and don'ts in this situation?
Well, the don't is don't panic. Because normally, and I know it's different from time to time, but normally there's not a huge effect. I was looking back in time and we haven't had any major crashes due to a shutdown. There are some things that are making this a bit more tricky this time because of the situation, but don't panic. That is my main. Don't go out and sell everything just because US is shutting down.
And Liam, if we're looking towards sort of, one thing is that we don't buy like crazy and we don't sell like crazy. But if we should start to look into sectors that might benefit or might drop a little bit because of the shutdown, where are we looking?
We think we're looking at precious metals and commodities. They're two good stocks that are going to, potentially do quite. They've already been doing quite well recently. I think gold's up around $3,900, something like that at the moment. We've got a couple of miners in our own sort of 3-point playbook portfolio. So when we look at the dollar dropping and the interest rates going up, smart haven and a good haven for your money is definitely gold and silver.
But if we look at Barrick then, because it's in the playbook, if we bring that up, is it still time to get in? Is there still more gas left in the tank? Is there anything to get?
That's an interesting one. If we just go into our playbook very quickly here, and I will just move us across, you can see that it's all green on the point one. So the point one is really trying to understand whether we're buying into a quality company or not. And you can see everything, all the numbers are going up. The PEG ratio, which tells us is there growth in these good numbers as well, or is this already priced in, is pointing to the fact that it's under 2.5, under 2. So it's a pretty good score for us. So everything looks good from a quality perspective. So holding a quality company is what we aim for. When we look more at where it could go, there's not as much upside. So this is our value chart, which just sort of plots where the stock is in relation to its historical earnings. And we can see in the best case on my analysis, you're looking at a 4% return next year if everything works and Barrick sort of execute their plan really, really well. So it's not one we jump into now. I think we're up 58%, 60%, something like that since we went into it a few months ago. So we're quite happy, but we're really looking at now. Okay, as long as the stock is in its trend and going up, as you can see here, fine. As soon as it starts breaking that trend, we'll exit out and do something else with our money.
The thing is that's sort of the strategy of the 3-point playbook, and I know all members and since we are doing this pre-premiere for members only, they of course are familiar with your strategy of how to invest. And Henrik, it's one of those teaching things that you stick to all the time, is have a strategy before you head to market.
It absolutely is, and it is even more important for us, dare I say, dumb money. It's not that we are stupid, it's just that we normally have less information than the clever guys in the market, the professionals. So what really loses a lot of private investors a ton of money is emotions. And if you have a fixed strategy, as we do, we look for quality, we look for a good potential, good pricing value, and then the timing with some technical analysis. And if we have some very strict rules there, we can at least avoid a lot of the emotions and have a thing that we can copy again and again and again every single time we look at a stock.
And that's also why when you might not have a stop loss, but you have a rule for when selling stocks. We'll get to that in a minute. But first, we also need to talk features that is on the website. And one of the things that's fairly new is the seasonal. And the reason why I bring this up is because September used to be the month that everything went red. But not the case this September. This September was pretty good. And now we're coming to what stock buying people are calling October, which means that it's supposed to go up here in October. What's happening, Hans Liam? It seems like everything is off its keel.
Yeah, well, what we see here is a seasonality chart, and that is for the ETF called SPY. That is an ETF that covers S&P 500 index. And what we can see here is that historically, and this is the last 10 years, we can see that September have just been a fairly bad month. This year, of course, have dragged everything a bit up. But if we look into October, it's actually also not extremely good. There's just a bit shy of half of the months that are actually profitable. The average is in positive, but what is called the median in the data set is actually negative. So we will need to get into November, December before it really becomes positive. Yeah. We think the seasonality is a bit skewed, though, due to all the trade wars and stimulus and tax cuts, and there are just there's AI. There's just a million things that is dragging the market. So I know it's a dangerous thing to say, but this time could be different.
That's one of the things you never say in investment. But
Exactly.
anyhow, if we look to what happens in the market and what sort of, of course, macro is one thing, and that's what we're talking about here, these big things. And if we zoom in on one thing that caught my eye in the news was that Taiwan rejected a suggestion that Lutnick, one of the advisors to Trump, came up with, that he said that it's going to be 50% chip making in the US and 50% outside the US. And they just rejected it. Liam, that brings up Taiwan Semiconductor, because they are one of the, if not they are the largest one. It's simple as that.
They're an awesome company. Another one we've had in our portfolio since April, since all the stocks dumped in April. It was an interesting sort of comment from Lutnick yesterday, because you look at it, we don't do politics here, but we do need to understand how the politics affect our investments. And very simply, Taiwan is potentially under threat from China. And if China invaded Taiwan tomorrow, your iPhone wouldn't cost $2,000; it would cost $8,000, because that is simply the repercussions of not having a company like TSM making the chips for us, because no one else does it. America, part of the tariffs here is to try and move that manufacturing onshore onto American shores. That's going to take 10, 15 years. It took China that long to actually onshore some of their specialist areas, and TSM are simply the best, but no one's got anyone else to replace them. So they turned around and said no to this, because it provides them with a hell of a lot of security, having the US back them up.
And if we go into the stock itself, to the TSM, Hans Henrik has pulled it up on the chart right now. I see a lot of green, I see a lot of gray right now, but every indicator, it's a quality stock.
It's a hugely quality stock. It's about as good as you get. As I say, they literally really have no competition out there in the market for people who are manufacturing semiconductors at the level they are. China will probably overtake them sometime in the next 5 to 10 years, but they haven't got access to a lot of the tech that these guys have. Even from a value chart point of view, you can see there we're almost at the end of the year, so we're almost hitting the point where that green and blue line is starting to, is that going to make sense? Are we going to hit those or not? We're going to hit the top end from here. My own view on it is slightly more rosy than Hans, so I think there's more upside, but that's just an argument we can have sort of when after the show.
Just to say quickly, this is our standard. This is what the system provides of data, and that shows that it's actually a very decent case. What I did here was that I took our so-called PE channel and tried and find earlier tops and bottoms to line up with here. So that was why mine was less rosy than yours, Liam.
Yeah. And it's super important that you do this, even though that you are fairly new in investing, but sort of, try to put in your own temperament, but also your own sort of feeling towards a stock. Do you believe that this is the sort of sliding average that it's going to have on the evaluations? And then sort of try to make your own picture before you invest.
It is. It's very, very easy to have a really rosy picture of the bear case. So that's the key thing. And that's why you can see their hands has actually reduced down that red line and pulled it down so that it matches some of the swoons in the past few years. Once you've got that in place, the others sort of fall into place as well. So that's where I start normally, working out how much pain am I going to have to go through to hold this stock, and then I work out the upside.
It's important to say here that people that looks at this for the first time or are fairly new, these are not predictions. It's not like we are saying this is going exactly 29.8% up. We're trying to get a picture of is there a better upside than compared to what is a downside. So we are normally going for at least twice or 3 times the performance here in our base case compared to our the bear case here. So, but that is technicalities. We'll show that a million times in the show in the future.
We will get to that, and you have lots of webinars and how to and help to find at the webpage. Members know that, they know where to go. And if you are just popping into the show, you are tuned into MyStockScanner Live, where the stock faces 3 questions, as always, because it's the 3-point playbook. It's quality, upside, and timing. Let's take a look at the Danish market, because yesterday we had a little bump to GeneMap, or a big bump, as a matter of fact, because the stock was rising after an acquisition announcement. Today, the spotlight goes, I look at my screen now, to Ambu for sure. It's up by 7.3% right this minute. What's happening to Ambu? What's the story today?
Yeah, there's several things. First of all, if we look at the technical picture first, one of the things we were talking about this morning was that there is what is called a resistance area up here. That's a level where a lot of people have sold out early on, and that was just around 102, 103. And it made a perfect turn here. We can see it was up here, and now it has been sold out. So it's not quite as positive. It's a good gain. What happened to Ambu is kind of twofold. First of all, there's the entire sector that is being lifted, the entire drug, pharmaceuticals, and so on that are being lifted today because Pfizer did a deal with entering a platform in US yesterday called Trump RX.
It is a Trump pharmacy, you can say.
It is a Trump online pharmacy. And the other thing is that Ambu, and that is a major mover today, that is that they went out saying that normally they had guidance for the next, I think it was 2 or 3 years, with a growth of 10% per year. But they went out now and said this is actually until 2030, and it's 11 to 13% per year in growth. And if we just take a quick look at it here, just jump into our playbook, there is some red here. We can see that their return on equity, their return on invested capital, and so on, that is not optimal, but it has a good quality of 84, our quality score here. We can see that the earnings per share and the estimates are showing very good numbers. The PEG ratio, as Liam said earlier, that is price earning, where we also divide with future growth. That is very low. We like it to be below 2. If we look at the charts down here, it actually looks quite good. Now, again, be careful thinking that this will automatically go up. What I did here was that I prolonged the period that we look into the future. So with their new numbers out to 2030, you can see we have 2029 to the end here. And then I added just some very low numbers, the low end of their expectations, 11% growth per year here. And that means that until the end of 2030, we could see a growth between 90 and 185% in this. Analysts are, within the next 1 to 2 years, believing in roughly 40%. So it's actually a very good case, and the price is at the lower end of what we call the PE band here, which leaves a lot of room for upside.
It could have been stock of the day, I almost feel. That's one of the features that people are used to, and we, of course, will bring them up on the show as well. So
I was personally surprised about how good the case actually looked, to be honest.
Also in Danish news, we have a bump from Novo, partly because they also were talking about a trial in South Korea that they were approved to move to phase 3 out there. It's given them a nice bump, 3.4 as we are speaking. We're not going to bring it up because we bring up Novo so often, but we will be coming back to it. And if you're sitting out there and say, oh, I'm missing out, I want you to talk about Novo, well, then we have an email address that you can use. And just for you guys, you can write us at fomo@mystockscanner.com. If you got questions, we got some answers. And I promised something about Maersk today, and we're going to do that short because we have a couple of things that we need to go through as well. We're not going to bring up Maersk, but we're going to talk about that you guys predicted what Jyske Bank and I think it was UBS said today, that it was time to jump ship.
Yeah, what we said the other day, and I am bringing it up here because it looks so special. The value chart simply goes to zero. That doesn't mean that Maersk will go to zero, not at all. But Maersk is showing some fairly terrible things here. Their earnings per share going negative and so on. This is their own expectations. We never buy stocks like this. So we had some questions about it 2 weeks ago, and we said we wouldn't touch it because that's not the type of stocks. So apparently Jyske Bank is watching over our shoulders and agreeing with us today.
So you think they tuned in and kind of listened to you guys? Nah, we're not going to go that way.
Probably not.
As we said, this is the first show that we're doing. There's a lot of new features that we're going to be bringing up during a week. We will on Monday always have a focus on the 3-point playbook portfolio. On Wednesday we will do watch list. Not today because this is our first show. But on the watch list that we will be looking at is Liam. It's basically in the future is what our users are looking for.
Yeah, I pulled this out about a week ago, and we thought, this would be a good one to sort of bring into the show on a regular occasion, because what it effectively shows us is who's accessing what on the system. So we've got some really interesting data. We've got a lot of people using the system, so we can start working out, okay, what are the popular stocks out there? And I've run 2 searches here. I've got the most accessed stocks, so they're the ones that people have gone to the page most on, and you can see here Novo Nordisk, that tiny company in Denmark that no one's ever heard of, is right at the top. But there's a lot of other really interesting companies there, like Lundbeck, Loomis, Nvidia is another one in there. But you've got some smaller ones out there as well that a lot of people maybe never have heard of. So you've also got, what I've also pulled out is the most popular on watch lists. So there'll be 2 different things, and you can see from just looking at the most access, it's industrials and healthcare. Those are the popular areas. For the watch list, though, people are watching tech and healthcare, and some consumer cyclical. So that's where we are. They're pretty good. What I did was I actually went back to August, got the most popular of the access stocks in August, and then worked out what the percentage increase on those stocks was on average after that, and it's just over 3%, 3.3%.
There you go. People are really, they know what they're doing.
They do know what they're doing.
That's fantastic. And this is what we're going to do on Wednesdays. We're going to bring up watch lists every Wednesday, and that's, of course, so you remember it, Wednesday watch list. Fairly easy to remember. On Fridays, we have and you've probably already seen that on our social media, but also on our website, is that we do a Friday face-off. We take 2 stocks and pit them against each other. It was Nike and Adidas on Friday, and we're going to do that every Friday. And then we also have a lot of other things. We're going to introduce you to them slowly over the next coming weeks, where we do the soft premiere for members only. But one of the things you also do and have done always, Hans-Henrik, that is do themes, where you take up and do a webinar on a specific theme. You're working and you're slowly getting ready for a nuclear webinar. Short. What is it? What are you going to emphasize? What are you going to write about in the coming days?
Well, we're writing a lot of articles, and we're doing the webinars, you say, and that we're trying to dig down in all the sub-industries on that nuclear uranium stuff that is moving. As we have talked about in many articles, there's a huge demand for electricity due to, for instance, data centers. And the entire nuclear energy uranium thing is just big there. Today, I'm writing an article where I'm doing a 3-point analysis of 2 or 3 different uranium miners.
And that's what you get.
Are we not saying it's a red hot sector? Why are we not making these jokes?
Oh.
All right,
I was distracted because you look so radiant.
Yeah. Well, so far so good. That's the nuclear theme that Hans-Henrik is focusing on, and you get to see over the coming days in the webinar. We're coming up towards the end of the first show for now. We have a number of the day that I gave you in the beginning. It was 2.99 million people. Any guesses?
Nope.
You still?
I've got no idea.
Yeah, well, I'm glad that you have ideas about stocks then. No, I tell you, it's the biggest employer in the world. It's the Ministry of Defense in India employed 2.99 million people. It's funnily enough the second biggest employer in the world, whose boss is Pete Hegseth. That's, of course, the Ministry of Defense in the US, People's Liberation Army in China, 2.55. Let's go find I'm going to say a proper employer. Walmart have 2.3 million people employed.
I think the one in US will drop a bit down the list. Yeah. I heard there's some generals out of a job soon.
Yeah, if they stood up during the meeting and walked out, then they lost their job. But that's not what we're talking about. We're not talking politics here. You guys know that.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, we will be back on Friday. In the meantime, you will have articles, you will have in-depths that can be found on our webpage, MyStockScanner.com, and on Facebook. And remember, we got answers for you. If you got the questions, please write us. Do write us if you have anything you want to ask about. FOMO at MyStockScanner.com. This was the very first MyStockScanner live broadcast. We will be back on Friday. Are you guys going to show up? Can you promise that?
I'll check the diary. I'm all right, actually. Yeah, I'm good.
You're open.
Yeah, unless something better comes along, obviously. But,
yeah, I know. It's Friday after all, isn't it? Well, see you guys on Friday at noon. Thanks for watching.